What's up guys, MeatyLock here, and today we're going to talk about some new aisle news. Now news today is a little sparse, but we got a few things on the plate right now. Now the first thing I'm going to talk about is this is a little old, but they are coming out with a feather system in aisle. They just got to fully implement it before they kind of feather the dinos that actually need to be feathered. So I have some video footage right here of Bardo streaming, and he's talking to Dondi, and there's some other stuff of the feathers, so you guys can go ahead and check that out.
Because someone asked, the feathers will be in when the feather system is done, right?
Yeah, because we want to have like the cool, like, when you turn left, your feathers sway kind of bit.
Yes.
Otherwise, like, what's the fucking point of having feathers?
Exactly.
You might as well just all have Jurassic Park animals.
Feathers is going to be really cool. They want to make it kind of like an actual real system and dynamic system. You know, it's going to sway on the body, you know, it's going to look really nice, and you know, we might have full feathered creatures or maybe only partially feathered creatures. I'm not really much into paleo myself, but you guys can probably tell me better down below on what creatures need to be feathered and what creatures don't need to be feathered. As for other news, last time I was talking about the combat mechanics and where they need to do some sort of, I guess, shaking mechanic or whatever, maybe to make them lose more stamina, the Utahs, when they pounce. Well, apparently creatures are going to get a bucking system. Now this is also sort of old news, but I find it pretty interesting. Yeah, I have some footage of it right here that I'm going to show. The shant right here is actually bucking. So if you get any Utahs on you, I'm assuming this will probably be for most creatures unless you're really tiny and get pinned down by the Utah, because the Utah is planning to actually pin down smaller creatures and then kind of pounce and grab a hold of bigger creatures. And of course the bigger creatures can buck you off. Maybe the small creatures can shake around and try to get away, hoping the Utah runs out of stamina. I don't know, but it's really interesting stuff. Also, this is kind of decently new information, but apparently the Brachiosaurus is going to be replacing the Puerta, basically confirmed 100%. So, because the Puerta is actually a stopping land model, and it's weird, I guess, compared to all the other dinosaurs and the way they want to do it. So yeah, the Brachie's coming. I don't know when it's getting replaced, but it will be coming at some point. Now, we actually got a confirmation of the dinos coming to survival, and we do know that they are going to be remodeling most of them, but the only ones that I think were confirmed was the Pachycephalosaurus that's getting a fully remodel, and the Allo that's getting a full remodel. I think I only mentioned the Allo last time. I'm not sure, though. Now, for the rest of the news today is, besides that, of course, there's probably going to be some tweaks and stuff to update today. V3, Region 3 is really glitchy right now. There's textures that are weird. There's certain ponds and stuff you can't drink out of, and food apparently is pretty hard to get, even though if you know where food is, you know, it's not in any of the forests. You know, you shouldn't be looking for food in the forest. You should probably be looking for it in kind of like the open sort of areas. That's where food is. But yeah, there's a lot of water sources you can't drink. There's a lot of textures that are weird, and they're kind of just stress testing it right now. So I'm assuming updates and improvements will be coming to Region 3 soon. The rest of the news today, we're going to be talking about the combat update. Now, I got talking, and a bunch of people from my last video actually commented and told me some of the planned changes. Now, a lot of the stuff I cannot confirm. I can only confirm one ability. I went back and looked through old streams and also went through the Discord, and I couldn't find any actual full evidence of some of the stuff taking place. The only thing I can confirm is the Dryo. Dondi just said this recently, but the Dryo has senses that travel further than other dinosaurs his size. Taking damage or being in the vicinity of a predator causes him to panic, and he'll start making a bunch of noises, so he's kind of like a warning signal, I guess. Increasing his speed and removing stamina drain for a short time. Now, what this means is this is basically adrenaline. So it'd be kind of cool if most creatures maybe at some point get some sort of adrenaline system. That would be awesome. Now, I'm going to go down through a list of creatures. We're going to talk about their suspected, I say that in quotation marks because I can't confirm this, and changes, even if I could confirm this, changes might happen by the time the system comes out, and there could be alterations, tweaks, or complete removal and adding of abilities. I'm not really sure. So the Trike apparently is going to have a charge attack. If you time it just right, it's going to deal massive damage and probably even maybe some sort of crippling damage, maybe bone breaking and stuff like that. That hasn't really been confirmed, and no one even mentioned that. That's just something I thought I would add on there. But yeah, charge attack, it's going to do massive damage, which is pretty cool. And it's supposedly not going to take hardly any damage to the head or frill. So as you know, the big frill that surrounds his head is all made of keratin and bone, and it kind of acts like a shield, a knight's shield, protecting its body. So whenever it charges in, you know, it does it because it has the 2 huge horns that's going to pierce and stab, you know, and then it also has the big frill protecting its body. So yeah, the Trike's going to get that ability. Now, the next thing up is the Rex. The Rex is going to have a bone-breaking ability. Now, it already has this, but I think in the future it's going to be moved to some sort of locational damage, because right now I think the bone-breaking ability of the Rex is kind of cheap, and it's a little cheaty, to be honest, because if the Rex didn't have this ability, mostly everything would be on equal ground with the Rex right now, I think anyways. The bone breaking is just kind of cheap, because if the Rex bites you once, you're basically dead, because it's a 70% chance to get bitten. But I think in the future, it's going to be kind of like you latch on, and it's going to be locational bone breaking or crippling, something like that. So there might be a latching ability in the future, which is pretty sweet. Now, the para. There's been a lot of talk of the para, and basically people have been saying that if paras get into, I guess, herds together, there's going to be kind of like a passive healing buff going on. Well, I have proof right here that this ability is false, and is not going to be in the game. The para does not have a healing ability. As for any alternative para abilities that have been talked about, I'm not really sure, to be honest. Next up is the Karno. The Karno is going to have like a charging attack. Now, it's not going to be a charge attack like a Trike. Basically, as it runs and builds up charge and momentum, its attacks will do more damage. So I think that's how it's going to work, and it'll have a reduced turn radius during this charge. So yeah, it's kind of like a charge attack. I'm assuming it'll probably also do more bleed and stuff too. Of course, you guys can comment down below and suggest alternatives and anything like that, and if they're really cool, I might bring it up to Dondi, and you know, I might even ask Dondi. What I'm going to do is I am going to ask one of the devs. I tried to ask the devs before I made this video, but after waiting for about 5 to 6 hours to get a response, no one said anything. I know Dondi right now is currently in the hospital, so go wish him, you know, well, and you know, fortune and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully he gets better real soon. He doesn't really know what's wrong with him right now, so that, you know, go to his Twitter, be like, you know, get well, Dondi, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, no one's really responded to me, so I'll try to get some confirmed abilities here soon. This is just kind of speculation. Next up is Pakkir Rhino. It's going to have a charge attack just like the Trike. Cripples targets around its size are smaller. It probably won't cripple apexes, but it might still be able to break the apex's legs, maybe, like the Rex, if you hit it just right. It'll also take reduced damage on the frill and face. Now, the Pakkir Rhino isn't in the game at all, but we do know it is, I think, modeled and upcoming. I'm actually going to do a video of modeled creatures here soon. Next up is the Giga. The Giga will be able to latch onto its prey with its mouth, dealing more bleed damage by the second and the longer it stays on. And when releasing the prey, it'll actually take a chunk of flesh out of the target, eating it, gaining some hunger. So it's going to be able to eat flesh from live targets and take chunks out. And I'm hoping this will be part of the locational damage system as well. Moving on, we got the Stego. So the Stego apparently be able to anchor to the ground and turn in place, dealing a ton of damage to the target. And apparently it'll be able to pierce bone. Someone asked Dondi this in stream, if it could pierce a Rex's like face bone, and Dondi said absolutely, even though you might want to target more like its chest area and stuff too. You know, if a Rex takes a freaking Stego spike, or even I guess a Trike spike to the chest, it's probably going to die. So I don't know how extreme they're going to make this in game though, but yeah, the Stego is going to have a sort of, I guess, sitting ability, and it's going to kind of turn and swing its tail and shit. And by sitting, I mean anchored to the ground. Next up is we got the Utah. The Utah will be able to pounce on all possible targets. So with small targets, it'll pounce and pin them on the ground. And of course, this will use stamina, but you'll pin stuff on the ground. There's a system like this in Primal Carnage, where it pins humans on the ground. So it might be something like that. And then for bigger creatures, of course, the bigger creatures will have an option probably in the future after the pounce is implemented to buck. But yeah, it'll latch on to targets, kind of like the old Ostrow raptors, and it'll, you know, bite into them and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully multiple Utahs will be able to latch. Hopefully maybe eventually they'll be able to drag the creature down, causing it to be slower, or maybe even causing it to fall over in the future. That'd be awesome. Now, next up is we have the Ostrow. The Ostrow's confirm ability is catching fish. It's going to have kind of a semi-aquatic lifestyle. Not really semi-aquatic, but it's going to, you know, dive underwater and catch fish. So if you need to escape, I guess, predators or whatever, you'll dive in the water, and you don't have to worry about killing anything to get food. You'll just use fish. Now, eventually, we will have fish AI, which is going to be pretty cool. It's going to kind of liven up the waters. And any sort of, I guess, predator that dwells in the water will be able to actually get fish. Next up we have the Dilo. So the Dilo apparently is going to have a venomous bite that will lower bleed resistance of dinos. Now, I don't know if it's like a stacked effect or you bite them once and the effect will kick in, and then if you bite them more, it'll just be like more bleed than last time. You'll probably bite them once, they'll get the debuff, and then it might stack, or you might just continue biting them for more and more bleed. So that's a pretty cool ability for the Dilo. It's definitely different from the other ones. For the Cerato here, it was talked about having the ability to consume bones. This would allow the Cerato to make more out of a meal by having the ability to eat bones of its prey even after a gore disappears. Herrera is going to have the ability to climb trees, which is pretty sweet actually. Maybe hopefully more creatures in the future can climb trees. That's going to be awesome. I'd love to be a Herrera, be up in a tree, and then like pounce down on a human and like just eat their face off. That would be crazy. The next thing is the Galley. Now the Galley apparently is going to have a herd buff. I think the herd buffs for the creatures are things that people just kind of made up. I don't know if this is confirmed at all. Now, out of all the creatures I've talked about, I think the Galley is probably the one you should probably take with a grain of salt the most. And apparently the more Galleys in the flock, they'll all get a speed buff based on those Galleys. I think this is a little weird. Galley's already the second fastest creature in the game. I don't think it really needs any more speed. And also having a passive speed buff for being in a flock kind of doesn't make sense. I think any sort of these herd buffs that like only affect specific dinos, like we heard about the Para and the Galley, are probably not going to be true. Last thing we're going to talk about that I've heard is the Anki. Now, as we know, the Anki is supposed to get armor in the future, and I'm assuming whenever locational damage is in, we're going to get armor on a bunch of the different creatures in certain areas, and if you get bit or attacked in that area, then it's going to do less damage or almost no damage at all. And yeah, the Anki's going to get basically full armored body, at least on the top, and maybe the ability to crouch and swing its tail freely. Now, I heard about this ability. I don't know if this is something that was actually talked about. I would take this with a grain of salt as well, but apparently it can crouch down low to the ground. Its whole body's protected. It kind of goes into turtle mode, and then it'll start swinging its tail around, and I don't know, it sounds pretty cool. Okay, so I forgot a creature, but the Aloe. Now, the Aloe is supposed to have some sort of latch/grapple ability. I don't know exactly how this is going to work. It's not going to be like a pounce, but it was mentioned at some point or another. I don't know if this is coming or not. Also, another bit of news is I just talked to a dev, and they basically said most of these are the ideas that they do have planned. But like I said before, most of the stuff, and probably it will change in the future. So take everything that was just said with a grain of salt, because we have no idea if any of this is actually coming, because they could decide to change all of it or none of it or only some of it or whatever. And yeah, but you know, there is going to be a combat update. They do plan on adding abilities, and these are some of the ideas that they have now. One thing, the Galley ability, I'm pretty sure the dev I talked to has never heard of that Galley ability, so that might be bullshit. I'm not really sure. Anyways, guys, I'm going to call it here. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, remember to smash the like button, love your faces, and I'll see you guys in the next one, which will probably be talking about, unless there's a lot of news, I want to talk about some upcoming creatures to the Isle that haven't really been talked about, you know, like Pakkir Rhino, that kind of stuff. We're not going to talk about creatures that are currently in the game, so no Aloe, no Dino, no Quets, mostly creatures that haven't really been talked about at all, or at least not in a while.